The Japanese Obi Strip. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Maybe you're kind of like me and fall somewhere in between. What exactly is the history behind these things? What is the origin of the Obi Strip? Is it a modern day grift for artists and labels? Why do I always feel the need to get right up on this camera like I do? We're going to answer all those questions plus more in today's video. Oh, hi there. My name's Jorge. I grew up in the 80s and I used to love getting into trouble. I have always been a friend of felines. I take my faith very seriously, attending school at a Christian college, and I've been a music fan my entire life, only recently finding out that I really like extreme metal. And I want to invite you to journey with me on my discovery of extreme metal. What is up, folks? Welcome back to A Christian Collects Death Metal. It's your pal Jorge here, back at it again. Thank you so much for stopping by. Now, here's the thing. I'm not altogether against the Obi Strip. I think a lot of them look really cool. And as far as like aesthetic appeal, yeah, they really are a part of the whole presentation. Take, for instance, the new reissue from Hell's Headbangers, Hideous Manglius, All Your Friends Are Dead. Old 90s death grind. Just put it out on vinyl for the very first time. Really cool Obi Strip, right? You got some artwork up here. You got some stuff up here, horror grind. On the back, you got pictures of the band just here. But here's one of my issues. Not only does it obstruct the album artwork, obviously the name, the guy that, you know, also part of the track listing back here. And here's the kicker. This is a gatefold album, right? So if you want to actually open it up and look in it, you have to physically remove the Obi Strip. Now, I've seen other labels approach Obi Strips on gatefolds a little bit differently. Take, for instance, Danny over at Go to Warx. This is Holy Arrow, Oath of Allegiance Part 2. Really cool release, by the way. This thing is like a kid's storybook, just the thickness and firmness. Anyway, check out the Obi Strip. It doesn't encompass the entirety of the gatefold. Rather, it's just on the one side. That way you can actually open the gatefold and still leave the Obi intact. But before we check out any more examples, and I have some cool ones here, let's first discuss the origin and history of the Japanese Obi Strip. The Obi first came into existence circa early 1960s, and I've seen sources as early as the 50s. I couldn't find any examples though, but the Obi was named after the sash worn by traditional kimono, and it was a belt or a sash, and hence obigama or belt paper. The Obi Strip was a way for some of these Japanese distributors to make records more recognizable to Japanese consumer, and the strip itself would feature things like the album title, the band name, label information, might offer a brief description of the record to a non-English speaking Japanese people while still keeping the original art intact. The crazy thing is, or was, that these were originally intended to be discarded, thrown away. It's just a piece of paper wrapped around the record, had a description, some maybe pricing, what have you, and when you get home, you wad it up and throw it away. That's why finding some of these old records with the original Obi Strip intact can fetch a pretty high price. I'll show a few examples just here. Black Sabbath Volume 4, $350. And we have, it looks like the complete Kiss solo set, all 4 LPs, 1980, $2,000. That's $250 per record. So let's check out just a few random examples. You have Sentient Ruin doing their version of the Obi Strip, a US version, I will say, and it looks really cool, I'll say. Now, What's cool about this one is you have the entire track listing right here. This is Haslig Apex Predator, came out in 2024. Yeah, just the entire track listing, right? And on the back, you have all of the credits, right? So, you know, who produced it, who mixed it, you know, some label stuff. Really cool. And some artwork, obviously, the label right there. Then you have one from New Era Productions. This is the recent Stan Garagel. I never know if I'm saying that the right way or not. However, you can see that this Obi is a little bit different. It's like a rice paper sort of Obi that just sort of sits on the side, right? So it can super easily fall off. However, once it's in a plastic sleeve, protective sleeve, you know, there's no issues at all. It's actually hand numbered right there. I have 84 of 100, right? So it's just kind of a cool way. It's almost translucent, right? Then you have from Phantom Lure, Sacred Sun, Grief Commodity, just here. This is like a black metal sort of, you know, what he did up until this point was mainly black metal, but this release was more like sludge mixed in there with it. Has some cool artwork on the back as well. So aesthetically, you know, it's hard to imagine some of these releases without the Obi Strip, and we'll get to that here in a minute. But as you saw in the thumbnail, we even have cassettes with the Obi Strip as well. This is Bloody Keep, Rats of Black Death, and this little cardboard Obi that just sort of sits on it right there. You have some Japanese text, the band logo. On the top there, GSR tape, 2nd edition. Vampiric black metal, some artwork. You even have Abysmal Spectre's initials right there at the bottom. The brains behind Bloody Keep. So, you know, and this is mainly like a collector's thing, right? And so some of these labels are, you know, looking at that and saying, hey, it makes sense to put the Obi Strip on records because, yeah, collectors like these things. And if they're doing another variant and then they have a special edition with like an Obi Strip, you know, it's just kind of collector's items, I guess, at this point. Is it trendy? Well, it's been going on for several decades now. So if it's a trend, I don't think it's passing anytime soon. But I've spoken to some artists about this who feel strongly against the Obi Strip. They don't like the idea that, I'm not going to say any names, but yeah, they don't like the idea that it obstructs the art, and they feel that to them, yeah, it just to charge more money for essentially a piece of paper. Yes, there may be a color variant as well, but they're not so much for it. And here's the question, the big one. Is it a modern day grift for labels and artists to make an extra variant, slap a piece of paper around it, charge a few bucks higher, and make some extra money? Well, I think ultimately, as far as underground labels, extreme metal labels are concerned, I'm going to say no. Because in a lot of cases, take for instance someone like a label like Phantom Lure, right? They do these Obi Strip editions, and sometimes they'll have just the plain Jane black variant. That's just two variants, black and the colored variant with an Obi. Not a lot of money to be had, and it really ultimately it's just extra cash, you know, to go to support these labels, right, and these artists that we love so dear. Now, as far as mainstream, check out what I found. Linkin Park is probably the most mainstream artist I can think of. Now, this was their most recent album. They had the 2 Obi Strip editions. This came out 2 years, by the way. 2 years ago. One of the Obi Strip edition sold out. They do still have the other, but as you could see, there are a ton of variants. I mean, it just like these don't end. They even have alternate cover like artwork. They have even an Amazon exclusive edition. It's insane. In conclusion, the Obi Strip is an iconic part of Japanese music culture that has bled into the rest of the world, and it's a trend that, love it or hate it, I think it's safe to say that it's here to stay. And like I've mentioned, it is a way for some of these smaller labels to make a few extra bucks. It's a way for us to support some of our favorite artists and underground labels. Mainstream, well, that's another beast altogether. But let me know in the comments how you feel about the Obi Strip. I'm always curious to hear what it is you have to say. Jorge, a Christian who collects death metal, signing off. Be blessed.